Hey everyone. Oh, good morning from me. Good afternoon and evening to all of you. There we go. How's it going, Steve?
Hey, yeah, doing well. Nice to be back on the channel and got some very exciting guests today.
Absolutely, yeah. Rui and Matt over from the TMDL team coming on to talk about some of the new features and updates that we've had in the last few weeks and months here. So I'm really excited for this, and also Rui, happy to get you back on, and certainly welcome you to the second YouTube channel that I have now with Steve as well.
Hey everyone, and great to be here and excited to talk to you guys about TMDL. Really, really excited about this feature.
Yeah, it's crazy to just see how much this is involved and how much more tightly integrated it's continuously getting with desktop. I think one of my favorite posts recently was from Daniel Odekire over, who created Tabular Editor, and just talking about like how much this is really helping to champion basically anybody out there, like regardless of the ability to buy an additional product or even install a free tool, depending on security reasons. Now, pretty much anybody who now everybody who uses Power BI Desktop period would be able to start to leveraging the benefits of Tyndall, which I think will massively, hopefully, increase adoption of this going forward. So I'm very excited to see how this will continue to get used and implemented over the next certain number of months and years.
Yeah, and this feature was designed mainly for the pro dev persona to make them more successful using our tools. So Power BI Desktop is not, and it will never be, like a pro dev focused tool. But we during the years we always had, well, I've been more focused into the self-service persona, and that focus will continue, but I'm glad that we are bringing some of those pro dev experiences, code experiences, straight into Power BI Desktop. That ultimately the goal is to make those pro dev users more successful with our tools. I also want to make clear that it's not about like stopping you from using external tools. It's quite the opposite, because everything that we do, in particular the Tyndall scripting, that's those are features that can also be leveraged by external tools, so that those external tools can be more powerful. Now, the thing that I'm glad to say that's not the case anymore is that we are not forcing customers to use external tools to do simple stuff like editing a perspective or editing a translation or setting a property that Power BI Desktop does not yet have a UI, or you don't have like that situation with the calculation groups. Like for many years, or a couple of years, calculation groups, you could use calculation groups in Power BI, but you were forced to use an external tool to author those calculation groups. So right now, that's not the case anymore. We have the amazing Model Explorer that, by the way, we leverage that in TMDL View. But from now on, any object, if we launch a new semantic model capability, you can at least edit that with TMDL View. Because with TMDL View, you can edit any kind of object, any kind of property from your semantic model. Yes, in the code experience, but I would say that I don't know, the user that cares about perspectives will probably more on the pro dev side, and things like Tyndall and the more code experience will not scare them.
I'll say
Go ahead, Steve.
point as well. Yeah. For me, I think, you talk about this pro devs, and if there's people watching here and you're not familiar with coding and you don't consider yourself a pro dev, I think, and as Rui and Matt will demonstrate, it's done in a way that is a nice step towards that pro dev experience. And I think being a Power BI developer, even if you've not written lots of code before, this is a really nice way to start getting a feel into that. And I think once you do, people who've used Tabular Editor before and those type of tools, you'll really see why people love this and why people have been asking for these type of experiences. So I think even those non-pro devs, if you're just getting started, I think this is a really good first step, and I'd recommend it for everyone. Definitely.
Yeah, you are right. So the feature was designed for the pro dev in mind, but there are actually my favorite use case, and I will demo it. I can definitely see any user, any self-service user using that. Like just the fact that you can share and reuse scripts in using TMDL. So I can script my calendar table and I can send it over to you, and you can apply it in your model. And when I say script the calendar table, it's not like for example, before TeamWorld, if you wanted to share a calendar table with me, you could either share me the DAX code of that calendar table, or you could share the Power Query expression code from that calendar table. But there are a lot of semantic properties that get lost, like the sort by, the summarize by, the descriptions, all of that gets lost. With a TeamDL view, that's not the case, because I share the entire semantic model definition of the calendar table. That may be a DAX calendar table, and it will include the DAX, or a Power Query calendar table, and it will include the Power Query together with all those semantic model objects. So that scenario, I'm absolutely sure that the community will jump in. When you write a blog post, when you do a video, now you can share in the end. You can say, hey, here's the Stindl script of what I showed in my video, if you want to apply it in your model. And anyone can just copy and paste and run it, even if they do not know or understand or even want to understand what is inside of the Stindl, they can do it. And as you said, it's a good entry point to that pro dev world that once you start and you get used to it, that you see that it will save you like hours and hours, you will probably want to learn more and deep dive a little bit more.
Well, and the less time it takes to kind of get up to speed on some of these things, I think the better too. Is like with any external tool, there's friction to say installing, learning a new interface, and like eventually you do save time. But learning anything that automates stuff, is the first time you do it, it'll probably take 3 times longer than your old way. But then eventually it gets to be 3 times, 4 times, 5 times faster. So I think just having this in a native interface, and as we'll get into, just some of the features that come with it, I think are really nice. But I am getting excited on the topic, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I think before we hop into the demos, Rui, if you want to give a chance to reintroduce yourself to the stream, and then Matt as well, I'll give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself and how you're involved in the project, and then we can get started from there.
Yeah, sure. I can start. So I'm Rui. I'm a product manager on the Power BI team. I focus mostly on pro dev experiences and features like the TMDL view. That really excited and really proud about this feature and the work that the team did. They were rock stars here. So Matt is the guy behind the implementation of the feature. So thank you for that. Thank you for the collaboration, and also other features like developer mode, TMDL format, the PBIR format. So feel free to ping me and reach out, and whenever you see me, I'm always happy to talk about this stuff with you guys.
Perfect.
Hi, Matt Meyer, counterpart to Rui on the engineering side. Most recently came in to work on the pro dev experiences as well, and most specifically, obviously, TMDL. I've worked on bids, SSDT. I've done a lot of the modeling tooling stuff back in Visual Studio back in those days, as well as working in the paginating report space as well. So we got a lot of new stuff coming to TMDL. Going to be doing some more work there. So yeah, looking forward to it.
It's interesting, Matt, because you worked on the pro dev. So before Power BI, it was all pro dev. Like SSDT was all pro dev, and now you got a chance to work on the feature that is reclaiming a little bit of that pro dev experience in Power BI. That's great.
It was funny because when I did it, it was Timsel, and we were converting to JSON at that time, and now we're converting to TMDL. So
slow evolution over the last 10 years, and but yeah, I the way it sounds like between the two of you working together, you have the dreamer and the doer, so it's a very nice like pairing between the two of you with getting a lot of this stuff done, which is fantastic.
It's been a fun project, I'll say that.
Well, and just as always, I feel like just a need to shout out to, of course, Matthias Stierbach, and like at least helping to like start the embers and kindle the fire that eventually became all of this stuff. So It's been really cool to see an integration, I think, of both community support and then Microsoft
Yeah.
support, kind of having a nice marriage between the two of these.
Yeah, the TMDL was born from the community, so and from Matthias and the collaboration with Matthias with the product team, and it was great, and he's still so Matthias is always engaged with us, and even up to this day on the TMDL language, and that's what is amazing about Power BI is the engagement with the community and people stepping in and really wanted to make things better, and so big shout out to Matthias.
Exactly. Whenever you're ready, if you want, I can flip over to the screen and we can start looking at some of the demos that we'll have for the product today.
Yeah, let's go. Today I'm not going to do slides, so it's full demos.
This one. There you go. Wrong button.
And by the way, I just noticed because it was scheduled for today, but I was not sure. There is a new blog post that we launched today that deep dives into TMDL View and and calls out a few of the use cases. So please take a look at that. I think you'll find it interesting. So first, TMDL View, it's you need to enable it in the preview feature. So we go to the preview features and the options of Power BI Desktop, and you need to enable it. And after you do that, so here it is, TMDL View. And after you do that, and you restart Power BI Desktop, you get a new view in the left pane. And just like the DAX query view, you have the TMDL View. And as I said, so the TMDL View is a semantic modeling as code experience. Is bringing semantic modeling with TMDL language into Power BI Desktop. And you might say, oh, but I already have TMDL in my Power BI project. What's the difference? The difference is the TMDL inside of the Power BI project. It's like the code behind of your Power BI development. So it declares the semantic model. If you make a change, you need to restart Power BI Desktop to load that change. And if you make a change with an error, you need to restart Power BI Desktop. You get an error, and you need to go back to the TMDL. So, and ultimately, the TMDL inside of the Power BI project it's mainly for source control, or if you want to make changes without even loading Power BI Desktop. With TMDL View, that's a different game because it's a scripting mental model. So when you open TMDL View, you will see that you get a blank code editor. Nothing is in here. And you need to script things, or you need to type new scripts. You can copy, you can paste the TMDL script that someone else gave you, or you can just start typing. You even have IntelliSense, and you can use that. And you can, if you want, you can author a semantic model from scratch using TMDL View. But noticed that on every TMDL script, it always starts with a command, a create or replace, because this is a scripting mental model. It's always a script, and the script, a TMDL script, it always includes a command that at public preview, and right now we only have one, a create or replace, but we do want to extend the commands to other things like drop command, rename, refresh, in the same way that you have a TMCell commands. It's we want to have at least the same level of commands in here, but right now it's just one. And basically it's when you have a command, you have, actually let me script something. You have a command, and then in another level of indentation you have the object. What's the object that you want to create or replace? Okay. And I got ahead a little bit of myself because so when you open it, it's an empty, nothing is in here. But and then what you can do, you can paste a script, or you can script something. And how do you script something? You go to the Model Explorer in the right, you have the data pane, and you can see the entire semantic model definition. And you can see that you have calculation groups, perspectives, tables. So you can script whatever the object that you have in here, you can script it as TMDL into the code editor. And how do you do that? So the easiest way is you just drag, you select the object that you want, and you drag to the code editor, and you drop it, and it will script the TMDL for you. So, and notice something, and this is the first use case, that it will show you everything. from that semantic model. And this is the first use case, because if you just want to explore the semantic model, you want to see the properties of a column, you want to see the properties of a measure, you want to see even things that that Power BI desktop does not expose, like the lineage tags, you can do that, because we are not going to hide anything from you. So we assume that the main persona of TMDL is a pro dev. So we are going to show you all the properties. So this means all the measures, this means all the columns and all the properties of the columns, and also even the Power Query expression. And it's using the TMDL language, so it's very readable. You can copy and paste, you can edit it, and you can make changes to it and apply it back. You can make changes and copy it to another script. Just this first use case of exploring the model, I think it can be very, very beneficial, because you might have a question like, this is not a good example, but for example, on this table over here, this is a SQL table. So you might have a question to which server you are connected to, and you can see that straight away. You don't need to go and open the Power Query editor, and that can get you the same answer, but it will take you more time, because you need to open, it will try to refresh, it will take more time. So in here, you can just script and you see, and if you want, again, if you want, you can even make a change and apply that without forcing you to refresh, which can be very interesting in a scenario where you have a slow data source and you want to make a change to the SQL database and publish to the service and refresh it in the service. So again, just the exploring part, I think it's a really interesting about TMDL. But I want to talk a little bit about the scripting objects, because you can script a table, as I showed, but you can also script a column. And for that, I just need to drill down to the column, and I can select the column that I want, and I drag, and I script, and I just see the column definition with a reference to the table. So I can be really focused and go to any object. And when I script like a child object, we are not going to include the definition of the parent. And things like multi-select also work. You can select multiple columns at the same time. You can even select multiple columns and multiple measures. And when you script and you drag all of that to the code editor, we are going to script everything for you. So this also gives you a way to focus on a set of objects, like a set of columns and a set of columns that you want to work on, and you want to make changes. You want to apply a batch set of changes to all those columns and objects measures at the same time. So multi-select, also a great thing about TMDL. Another thing is, you may not want to, instead of using a drag and drop, or let's imagine that you already script this and you want to include another column in here. How do you do that? So you can go to the column, and instead of dragging, because by design, when you drag, we always create a new tab. If it's an empty tab, we put it in that empty tab. It's if you are dragging to an existing tab, we always create a new tab. So, but as an alternative, what you can do is you can right click, and you also have this script to TMDL option that can be to a script tab and does exactly the same thing of the drag and drop. But you also have the clipboard, and the clipboard can be, okay, I just want to script this and copy it and share it on Teams with a colleague, or I can script to the clipboard, paste it here. You will need to remove the create or replace, because we assume that it's a full script, but can also be useful to like copy a snippet of your semantic model inside of an existing script. And so scripting tables, scripting columns, multi-selection. Another thing, and
just as a quick mention, just to like extra emphasize like how cool it is. I think, we're talking about the whole concept of friction, and you're trying to make this as easy as possible to learn. The fact that you can just drag and drop and have it write out whatever you need to, either from a single item, multiple columns, I think is such a useful tool to be able to like just help people learn the language as an assistant. So I really like that was out of the box with that.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's very intuitive. So you select the things and you drag it. We even tried, and we actually had to roll back. The initial intent was to allow you to drag and put things inside of inside of the in the middle of the text, but this could create like a ton of ambiguity. So we ended up simplifying and always creating a new script. I agree that again, just exploring, learning the language, exploring our model. It's a really nice use case of TMDL View, even if you do not want to make any change with TMDL View.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing, and I said in the beginning that okay, you can use TMDL View to author and create or edit objects that does not have a UI yet in Power BI Desktop. Such an example are the perspectives. Actually, if you go to our documentation on perspectives, we even, because on the personalized visuals feature, that's one example of a service feature that leverages the perspectives. We need to say that you need to use an external tool, because that was the story before TMDL View. Now with TMDL View, you can you no longer need to use an external tool. So for that reason, you might want to use an external tool if that provides a better editing experience and you like that the most. Great, that's good. That's the value that the community brings, and tools like Tablet Editor provides to users, is to provide a different experience that for them it might be better. But if you see in the Model Explorer, you have the perspectives declared in here. So what you can do now is you can drag the perspective, and we will show you the TMDL of that perspective, and you can make changes to it and apply them back. But we are going to talk about the apply in a minute. And the same goes for the translations. You can also script a culture. You can have multiple cultures in your semantic model, and you can see all the translations from the entire translation of your semantic model into the multiple languages that you have created in or declared inside of the semantic model. And last but not least, a semantic model can also be entirely script. So you can drag the semantic model, and this is going to script the entire semantic model. So everything is in here. So all the tables, all the measures, all the perspectives, all the shared expressions, all the cultures. And why this is important? This is important because if you have like a question on, okay, I want to search for a specific value, and in my entire semantic model, I want to search for, I don't know, I want to search for our playground, a certain server name. I can search, I can find it, I can see if that thing exists in my entire semantic model. This is very useful, because you can you no longer need to go and like, please don't do that. Like, don't go and even if you are not a non-pro, if you have that question, you don't need. Please don't go to click on every single table, every single measure to search for something. You don't need to do that. Because you just need to script it, and you find and search for it, and you see if that exists. And then if that exists, the thing that you are searching exists, then okay, you know that it's the column gender and it's on the table employee. Then you go and you use the model view to make any change to that object if you like, if you are not comfortable with TMDL. Okay, and any questions, thoughts? I will pause before, and please stop me because, and I'm sorry, I can get excited about this stuff.
Oh,
Maybe
no.
a little bit too much, but yeah, I just covered the first use case, like going into TMDL View, dragging things, scripting, learning the language, as you said. I like that, and searching, exploring, just that. This is the first use case.
Yeah, and I think we've got from Kurt here again, and you know, we've said this in the chat. Prescriptives, and he's mentioned personalized visuals are very underrated. And maybe Rui, I think it'll be good. A couple of people who might not know a perspective, if we can just kind of maybe give what they do, a quick overview as well.
Yeah, a perspective, as its name implies, it gives you a perspective over your semantic model. So in a semantic model, you have, let me switch to the model view. You have, like, my semantic model has all these tables, like dim product, dim store. So I have all these tables. I can create a perspective that when my users connect to the semantic model, instead of seeing the entire semantic model, they will see a subset of the tables. And this can be insanely useful if you have like a model with 100 tables, and that model might answer multiple domains. Like you might have sales and stocks, so you can have a perspective for each domain. And then if I'm only interested in sales, I will connect to the sales perspectives. And in the perspective, now let's go back to Tyndall view. You can have in the perspective, you can define the tables of those of the perspectives that you want to show in the perspective. So in this case, the perspective sales only shows the table sales and the table product, but you can also, on the table product, you can highlight or only show a subset of the column. So you might say, for example, your table product might have like 50 columns in there and internal columns, but for your end users on when they connect to the perspective, you are going to only highlight or show a subset of the column. So the perspective is kind of a view, like in a view in SQL. It's a view of your semantic model. It's not going to remove anything. It's just when you connect to it, it's going to create this view over the semantic model that may be a simplified view. And I fully agree with Kurt that the personalized visuals, it's a great feature, because it's what allows you, when you are exploring a report in the service, to personalize that visual just for you. So I might open a report that is using a pie chart, but I don't want to see a pie chart. I want to see a bar chart, but I don't have the permissions to change the report. So it's a really nice feature and makes users leverage the perspectives.
And just two quick notes on perspectives. One, it's people sometimes, if they're new, get confused with security. So it is a view into relevant fields to a cut of your model. So like, you have a large golden semantic model. One section might be for finance, one section might be for marketing. It's just related fields, but it's just hidden, not obfuscated. But it is an amazingly useful feature. The only downside that I always mention anytime it comes up is I look forward to hopefully a day when composite modeling is not needed to access them, because they're a buried hidden feature to find if you're using a thin report, because there's no easy way to get it unless you turn on composite modeling, and then it's like in a sub menu. So I teach people a lot on how to go look for it, and you have to have composite modeling enabled to like connect to them. So fingers crossed that someday that goes away as a requirement.
Very helpful though. I'd agree. To Kurt and Rui's point with that personalized visuals, very underused. I use them in Excel all the time. You can connect to perspective, stuff like that. Really good way for those of you if you want to give some sort of self-service to users and you just want them to not see everything and just what makes sense. Absolutely, really useful feature. This is such a nice way. Prior to this, they weren't easiest without, and be using external tools. So this is absolutely amazing. I think I'm really excited to go and hopefully get more people using perspectives now that it's so much easier.
Exactly.
Yeah, hope so. Okay, is there any other question?
No,
nothing at the moment, I don't think.
Okay, so let's keep going. So explore. Now let's talk about the second big key feature of our tenet of Tyndall view: efficiency. Okay, just being more efficient when you want to make changes to your semantic model. Again, it's a different way of doing things, more code oriented, so not UI oriented. But you can apply changes, any kind of change to your semantic model. So let's say I want to create a set of measures. I want to create 3 measures. I can do that again in the model view as I do it today, or I can do it in Tyndall view. And let's do that. So I want to create my measures in the fact costs table. So I'm going to drag my fact costs table. I don't have any measure in here. And then I can just start typing, and I can leverage the because the code editor of TMDL, it uses exactly the same technology of it uses the VS Code technology behind the scenes, and it uses the same language server that we implemented for the TMDL VS Code extension. So you will get, you notice that you get expand and collapse, you get color coding. You get IntelliSense, so I can just start typing measure, okay, and I know that it will auto-complete for me. So let's create a new measure, M1, and in this new measure, this is going to have this text. And at the moment, we don't yet have IntelliSense. So in the DAX, so the DAX, it's just a plain text right now. This is something that we want to improve in the future on the TMDL language. And I just created my measure. And if I wanted, I could apply, but I want to create 3 measures. So I'm in a code editor, so I can make use of the code editor. So if I want to create 3 more measures, I can select this one and do Shift Alt and create 3 more. And noticed that another thing that the TMDL language does, it gives you a highlight of the error. So I have 2 errors because I have 2 measures with the same name declaring the same expression. So I can over my mouse and it will tell me the error. I can do F8 or I can expand the problems pane, and every syntax errors, every time you have a TMDL with an error or a syntax error, we are going to highlight that for you, and you can even navigate to that error for each tab. So let's rename this M2, M3, and of course that I don't want to have the same measure over the same with the same expression. So I'm going to change this shipping cost, and in here it's going to be a sum of the unit cost. And again, those 3 measures are created. Something very important to highlight is that, again, it's a scripting experience. Nothing gets applied to my model. So if I go and I look into the fact costs, nothing gets applied. So I'm in full control whenever I want to apply this change to the semantic model. And only when I hit apply is where the change will get applied. But again, I'm in the code editor. I can make use of things that are only possible in the code editor. So I can press the Alt key and I can select 3 lines at the same time. And I can, let's say, add a format string in all my 3 measures. So I just need to enter, tab, IntelliSense also works in here, format string, and let's put the format string in here. And let's also put a display folder in here, base measures. And I could put any other property that is available for me. I can, for example, one thing that is only possible, that it's not even possible for you to declare in measures, but they are very useful in Excel, is the detailed rows definition. So if I want to create a detailed rows definition expression that's going to be available to my Excel users, I can just type the object in here, equals, and now this is and put my DAX expression, my DAX query of that detailed rows definition that is going to change the query that is default executed when you double click on a measure in Excel. And this is an example of changing a property of a measure that you don't even have a way to do that in Power BI Desktop today. So we don't expose the detailed rows definition, but you can change that with TMDL, and you can by just typing the detailed rows definition in here. And when I'm done, I can hit apply, and if all goes well, you'll get a green banner. You also have this output pane, which is great. It serves like a log of the executions of your scripts. So let's say if I make a mistake or if I put an error and I hit apply, you'll get the log in here. So every execution will be logged in here. If you restart desktop, it will be cleared. But it can be really handy for you to have this like journal of all the executions that you did, and when you fix things, see that in the log. And now my measures are just got created. So I have all my measures in here. I even have the detailed rows definition running. This is a tip. So if you want to test the detailed rows definition, a really nice way is go to the amazing DAX query view, and you can just put this DAX measure detailed rows and run it, and you can test your detailed rows definition straight from that desktop. You don't need to go to the Excel and double click to see that all that expression if it is working or not. So efficiency in a way that it's a code editor, and you can leverage everything from the code editor. And a great example that I think everyone understands on how efficient this can be. This can literally save you days, okay, just by using code. So imagine I have this semantic model, and I'm using dim underscore and fact underscore in my names, and I don't want this anymore. I want to replace and remove the dim underscore and the fact underscore, and I want to do this for all my tables. You might say, oh, hey, just go and rename those. If this was my semantic model, that's exactly what I would do. I would just rename things and I'm done, because it's 8 clicks. But if this was a semantic model like the one that I was working actually today from doing some optimization with 220 tables and 5,000 measures, don't ask me why is that, but 5,000 measures, and all the measures that's about that. That was not my task. Was not to rename, but was to replace the it's a direct query semantic model, and I wanted to move to an import semantic model. So I needed to replace and switch the storage mode of all my tables. If I needed to do that manually, this would take me days. Of course, I could use Tabular Editor with the scripting, and I write a C# script to do exactly the same thing, but I need to know how to write C#, or I can do what I'm about to do now. I can script the semantic model. I have the full definition of my semantic model, and I can do just a search and replace. I can press Control-H. You will see that you get the same search and replace experience of VS Code. And notice that you not only can replace words, but you can also use regular expressions. So you can do things like vim underscore pipe fact underscore, and this is a very simple regular expression, and you enable the regular expression option in here. But you can build like pretty complex regular expressions, and guess what? The thing that is really good at writing regular expressions is the LLMs and ChatGPT. You can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, create a regular expression to find this in this text, and it will create that regular expression for you. That's amazing. Actually, Matt, I just have an idea, Matt. Something that maybe we need to do for the TMDL Copilot.
Sounds good to me.
I can only imagine some of the community like templates that are going to come out from this, where it's going to, I think, really unlock options to allow people to have these saved templates as part of a notebook. Like you have default themes. I could potentially imagine like standard scripts to have that's part of your PBIX or PBIT, where these are just included and saved out of the box. Like every file should like have these 7 or 8 scripts. So I'll be very curious to see as this continues to mature, what people will use as their defaults.
We will get there, because that's actually my favorite scenario, and that's the third use case of TMDL is the sharing of templates, snippets, all of that. But let's just finish this one of the efficiency. Sure. Like, okay, I need to do that replacement of a fact and dim. I can use regular expressions in my search and replace. I can just replace the full text, and now and of course that in the real scenario, by the way, undo works, so I can make changes and you can undo on the code, not in the after you apply. So I could in the real scenario, I'll probably review if this is finding the right things, and when I'm done, I can just replace all. And just like that, and I hit apply, just like that, in less than a second, I just renamed all my tables. I just applied a batch set of changes in all my tables. And this is exactly the same if it is 2 tables, 3 tables, 100 tables, 1,000 tables. Okay, the performance will be the same, and the experience will be the same. So think, if you needed to do something like this, either you know how to write scripts, you are a coder, you know how to write some code to automate this, or you will probably spend a few hours clicking, renaming, clicking, renaming, clicking, renaming, clicking, renaming. Okay.
Yep.
So this is the again a really interesting like use case just on the efficiency, making changes using the Tyndall view. I won't execute those, but one thing, or actually I will. Another very interesting scenario is, which is also something that you cannot do today without Tyndall view, is you want to switch a table from import to direct query. So my table is in import, and I want to switch this to direct query because my Power Query expression is foldable, so it will work with direct query because I want to test the performance. I already have a report for my employee table, and that it's broken because I just renamed the full By the way, when you rename something in Tyndall view only affects the semantic model. If you have a report and that report is referencing a field, you will need to fix the report. So we don't automatically fix the dependencies. But if you want to switch between like import and direct query, today, if you wanted to do such a thing, you will need to re-implement the table again, and on the wizard you can select what's the connection, that if it is a direct query or an import. With Tyndall view, you can just switch the mode from import to direct query, and you apply, and now that table, the table employee is now become a direct query table, and you can go back. So you can go back to import. You just Control Z, go back to import, and now the table is back into import. And of course, you will need to refresh the table again. But this can be very useful in scenarios where you are benchmarking, testing the performance, and switching the modes. Can be really helpful. It's a pretty advanced scenario, but it can be really helpful without forcing you to have like 2 models side by side, one in import, one in direct query, because you can switch from import to direct query, but you cannot switch from direct query to the import. And with Tyndall view, you can do that.
Can I bring a quick question up from the comments on some of the scripting and the code? Yeah, one from Ben. Just is it possible to comment out or disable lines if you're under development or trying to leave in those?
No, and that's a great question. We actually had and that's why Matt is laughing, is because we had quite a bit of discussions about that. It's not a Tyndall view limitation. It's mostly a Tyndall language limitation to support the notion of comments. And the big problem of comments is it's not about having comments in the code. It's about if you put a comment and you execute the script and apply it to the semantic model, you are expecting to see that comment. So when you script it back, so it means that we need to persist the comments inside of the semantic model, inside of analysis services, and there are some technical challenges to how to do that. What I would say is, and by the way, I highly encourage you guys to share your feedback, either good, bad, and things like this. Just click on this share feedback button. It will open a form, and in that form, just share your feedback. Please let us know if things like comments are really important for you. What's the use case? It will really help us on the prioritization.
Good to know on that. But as you said, solid reasons for the limitation, but feedback really does help continue to get this growth. So if there's enough community voice behind something, it will at a minimum give allow for conversations and other stuff to, I'm sure, allow you to have conversations with even some of your higher ups and like, hey, maybe this is something we should look at.
Yeah, if I get like thousands of users really asking for that, that gives me the ammunition to then go into Matt and the leadership and say, we really need to do this.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds. The comments part, we tried, but in the end, it needs a little bit more work and thought. But that's the thing, and it's the same in every company, and especially in software. We do have limited resources, and we have many things that we want to do, and in the end, it's all about priorities. So we do have and on the blog posts that I published today, you will see a few insights into the horizon, things that we are going to do and we are planning to do for TindleView. So we will have a preview option, which will be amazing, that will allow you to have a script and preview that change before applying that and see a diff. So kind of like the ALM toolkit experience, but more in a code experience. So you can see, okay, what if I apply this? What's the change that is going to make to my model before applying? And other things like, of course, the co-pilots. We want to have a co-pilot experience in TindleView that will automate and work from you by creating Tindle scripts. Like, for example, instead of writing what I just did of scripting and searching for something, you could ask Copilot, hey, rename all my tables into this new pattern, and Copilot will be smart enough to go and search for that and make that rename for you without even having to know how to write a regular expression.
All about, again, like the phrase, just reducing friction with low code to no code as much as possible when using code. And like Copilot has been so nice on some of that stuff. Like my favorite example is the kind of like VBA story, but also like C# and tabular editor is like the amount of assist that I use now to help me like write patterns and stuff to script things is super useful with that stuff now. So it is really, I think, shotgun forward a lot of people's learning who maybe are a little nervous on like poking around in the code when they can get an assistant to help them.
Yeah, 100% on that. 100% agree. And just before moving into my final use case, which is my favorite of them all, I also want to, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but every script that you create, you get a tab, so you can have multiple tabs with multiple scripts. And you can save those. But if I save my PBIX, so this works with PBIX and PBIP, so it's not binded to the format. So sometimes I get questions, oh, this is just for the PBIP format. No, it's for any format. So it's whatever. This basically gives you an interface with Tindle to the semantic model that you are developing. And when you save, all the scripts, they get saved inside of the PBIX. And if you save it as a PBIP, you will see those scripts in a folder called Tindle scripts. So all the Tindle scripts, they will get saved into this folder, the same way that the DAX queries get saved into the DAX queries. So if you open the Tindle scripts, all the scripts will be here. All the scripts that you create, and when you save, you get the Tindle file with the Tindle script in here. Okay, now let's go to the final demo, which is my favorite one. It's the ability for that Tindle introduces for the first time, because this was also not possible using Power BI Desktop, for you to easily script and share a semantic model object with others. And that others might be a colleague, for example. I might be working with a colleague, and he noticed that I have this nice calendar table with multiple columns in here. and he might ask me, hey, can you share this calendar table with me? Again, I cannot do that with I cannot copy and paste. I cannot, and even if I'm in the same machine with two Power BI desktop reports open side by side, I cannot copy and paste. What I can do is I can script, I can Control C, Control V, copy, and then just send it over with Teams or email. I can say, hey, here's my Tyndall script for my calendar table. Send it over, and they can apply, and the entire semantic model definition of my calendar table will get applied there. And this is one scenario. I just want to share with a colleague, or I just want to I want to copy a semantic model object between two Power BI reports or Power BI semantic models that I have open side by side. The second scenario is I'm working in a team, and because of Tyndall View, I can now have something such as a SharePoint site or a Loop site, whatever the share website that you want to use, where I can share Tyndall snippets. I can have multiple Tyndall snippets that are things that are very personal to my team, like for example, the about table that will have information about who created that report, the last refresh, all of that. The calendar table that I want to implement in my team, the measures table, how I want how I want my team to create a measure table, because there are this discussion of, okay, the measure table should be in DAX, should be in Power Query. I personally prefer the DAX version because it does not have any Power Query impact. It does not have to refresh anything in M. And for that, you need to create a calculated table like this one. And then my team can, whenever they want to create a measures table, instead of creating that by hand, please don't do it. They can now have a script, and they can go and run that script, and they get whatever the outcome of that script. That in this case is the calendar table, the measures table, or a little bit more elaborate things like time intelligence calculation group. How do I want my time intelligence calculation group, with the naming conventions of my team, with the calculation items that I think are important for that calculation group? And I can copy again, same thing, and run the script and create the calculation item, the calculation group for me. And now I have my calculation group created, reused from a snippet. And you might say, oh, but the calculation group depends on a calendar table. What if that calendar table does not exist? So in that scenario, the script might run, because we are not, the Tyndall does not validate the DAX, but you can do things like the Control Shift L, and okay, my calendar table is not calendar date, it's date, I don't know, something like that, and I'm done. So
one of my favorite hotkeys.
Yeah, I think you'll have to make sure you go over that one, because a few people may have missed that Control Shift L. It's gonna, I think, it's one of the
Control Shift L. It's kind of search and replace, so it's kind of the same of doing Control H and replacing things, but instead of doing that, it's much more efficient. So you select what you want to search, you do Control Shift L, and this is going to highlight everything that has that whatever you searched, and you can type a new thing, and it will replace all those things at the same time. So dates. So in this case, it's date. So this is my date, my new calendar. So my calendar table is named date, and it has a date column. And I don't need to find and replace, or I don't need, even worse, go one by one and change the same thing multiple times. It's a really nice keyword.
And obviously you can share your date scripts as well, so that if everyone ran the same date script, then your dates would be named the same anyway. So I think this is
yep. And the final scenario is I think I highlighted that in my blog post, is the community. Because now with Tyndall View, if you write a blog post, for example, this great blog post by my colleagues Zoe, where she deep dive into the Model Explorer, how to create a calculation group. She went through like everything that you need to do, like click here, click there, do this, do that, which she would still do because this is part of the feature. It's showing to the user how to create a calculation group. But what she can do now with TMDL View is that in the end of her blog, she could have a snippet of code saying, hey, if you want to create exactly, and this is important for everyone to understand, exactly that calculation group with exactly the same calculation items, attributes, everything, she can share the TMDL script with the reader. And the reader can, read the blog, and in the end, let me see how that calculation group looks like, and copy the script from the blog and paste it into their semantic model. So I can definitely see the community jumping in whenever you write a blog post, whenever you do a video about semantic modeling, creating something that you can now have a vehicle that you can use to your readers so they can apply exactly the thing that you teach them about in their semantic model and have high trust that it will work. Because the thing about the scripts is we also try to make it independent, so you can run it and you get always the same outcome. So I can run this multiple times. I can create the object, or I can change the object if I want. And yeah, so it's a great thing to just and as well, the community, I can also see the community creating like galleries of snippets, as you were saying, Reid, like a gallery of snippets that you can share things that are used to everyone, instead of having to instruct, because this was a problem before. You could share that technique of how to create a calendar table, how to create a measures table, but you had to share the like in screenshots. You did not have a way to share, okay, here's the code to create whatever I want to teach you about. So really, really excited about this thing. I think it's amazing that you can do this.
Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of videos. Like between Steve and I, I'm sure there'll be a couple of videos that we might have. Like here's 3 really good universal scripts that you might want to consider saving for your reports, or as you said, to instantly build out the measures tables or anything else. Just something that like can be ran that just will copy paste all that extra hassle. And I'll just go back again to the mention that you did on the big annoying thing, which is a reason that still today, before this, I never would ever start from a blank Power BI desktop file, because things like calendar tables or other stuff where like, yes, you can copy this code for DAX, but you don't get the sort by column and all this other stuff that comes through with these additional like metadata configurations. And being able to do that even in a brand new file is still going to be really nice to be able to move over without having to have those starter kit files necessarily, or just moving things between models that have already been built very effortlessly.
Yeah, you could even say that. But I mostly shown like scripting an object at a time. But what you can also do is you can say, okay, here's like the template of the semantic model that includes the table calendar, the table time intelligence, and the table measures. And this is the script that you should, whenever you create a new blank Power BI desktop, copy the script and run this before you get started. And this will create the 3 tables for you, because you can script one, but you can also script multiple objects. You can and multiple arbitrary objects. You can script like a table and a column of another table at the same time.
Exactly. The various levels that you can do a lot of this stuff, like it really can be as high level and broad, or low level, specific and deep as you need to with any of these types of configurations, which I do like a lot. But I'm looking forward to seeing just how much the community will start to like publish and vote on it. It's kind of like when we about like 2 years ago got the SVG expansion where we could do custom view boxes and all that, and then so many bloggers went very trigger happy with like all these really cool ways to start, creating SVG images and stuff. So I can imagine a very similar practice of a lot of copy and paste templates from many of the quality bloggers out there.
I think I want to highlight something Rui said earlier. Obviously, the advantage of doing this rather than pasting the code, as Rui mentioned, is if you paste the Power Query code, the DAX code, you just get that bit. So this you can obviously include much more features. All the other elements of translations, all of that can be scripted. Really, I mean, it seems like you just have access to everything and real ability to do a lot of stuff. And
yeah,
exactly.
And because this is text and because this is code, you can be really smart with this. You can. It's a stupid example, I know, but I can say, let's say I want to put emojis in all my columns. I can go to ChatGPT and I can say, hey, put emojis in all my TMDL columns, put the TMDL script in there, and it simply does that. So you can, this is a stupid example, I know, but you can do things like, hey, rename all my columns into this new pattern, or create a numeric column, a measure for each numeric column that exists in my TMDL script. And you could use this with ChatGPT, or you could use this with VS Code GitHub that is also free right now. And you could just create a TMDL script or open, even better. You can, when you save as a PBIP, as I shown, you get the TMDL scripts in there. So you can open this in VS Code, and the script will be there in here. And you can just use GitHub Copilot. Open, that is, I don't know why it's not opening, but it's a little bit slow today. You can open GitHub Copilot and ask Copilot to do stuff with your TMDL script, and then go back to desktop and apply that change that you just did with the Copilot, or just copy the script and go back into the desktop.
Exactly. I did have one question, if I can bring it up, from Nate. Let me go and pop this into the screen. He was wanting to know some context about how to handle lineage tags.
Yeah, that's a very good question. In January, early Jan or late December, actually for the first time, don't ask me why we haven't done it before. Maybe because right now lineage tags are becoming more and more important, mostly due to the composite models and direct lake. But we finally had added documentation about lineage tags. So if you want to learn a little bit more about lineage tags, go to our documentation. You can learn more about it. But to your question, how to handle lineage tags. So the lineage tag, as mentioned in the documentation, it enables the semantic model object to have a stable identification. So if you have a measure, this measure has a name. The name can change, but the lineage tag should not change. You can change it; it's editable. But once it's created, it gets stable. So if you rename the measure, and you have that measure being used in another model, for example, a composite model, that binding of the composite model to this semantic model is made through the lineage tag. Okay. So the lineage tags, what you need to make sure is whenever you have an object, that the lineage tag must be unique. So let's say I create a new measure, and in here, let's with a new name like M4, and I try to apply, I will get an error. And I can click on the show details, and I will get the error in here that will tell me that you have an object with a lineage tag that already exists in the collection. You cannot have two objects in the same collection. And by collection, I mean the measures collection, the columns collection, the tables collection. You cannot have two objects with the same lineage tag. So what can you do? How do you handle this if you get into this situation? You have two ways. One, you put a new ID in here. And it does not necessarily need to be a GUID. So it can be whatever you want. It just needs to be unique. So you can just put whatever you want in here that is unique, or more simple, you just remove the lineage tag. And if you remove the lineage tag and you hit apply, you might think, oh, but can I have, does Power BI allow me to create a measure without the lineage tag? No. What we do is we put the lineage tag automatically for you. And this is not TMDL View. This is the modeling engine inside of Power BI Desktop. If you now script the M4 again, you will see that it will get an automatically generated lineage tag for you. So in summary, lineage tags are stable identification of objects. Every semantic model object has a lineage tag, measure, column, table. They all have lineage tags. The main purpose are for things like composite models and having that stable binding. You might say, but I don't have composite models. I don't care about composite models. Then you can remove the lineage tags and generate new lineage tags all the time. You won't have any impact. But that's the purpose of them. And how you handle it, you just let it be. And if you get into an issue where you are creating and you get an error of duplicated lineage tags, you can handle that by just removing it, and you will know that in the end, Desktop will add that lineage tag for you.
One just last follow-up, just because it's directly relevant to this. So Andrew actually had a follow-up on lineage tags. So would you be able to use like a regular expression to remove tags when needed in TMDL View? So, and second part of this, something along a script like this.
Yeah, so you can, yeah, exactly. I was going to do it myself, but you can do something like this to remove lineage tags. The thing that I want to make sure that, and I'm sorry, because we actually should have published this doc a lot sooner. So if you care about lineage tags, read this doc. It's going to make things clear for you. Now, if you ask me, can I remove the lineage tags? Yes, you can remove the lineage tags, but you shouldn't. Because if you have, let's say you are editing a semantic model that already existed, it was published to the service, and you remove the lineage tags, and that semantic model is being referenced by another semantic model on a composite model, you will break that link if you do that. Okay, so
I love
it's not a good idea to remove lineage tags. Okay, it is a good idea if you say, oh, but I want to create a new measures from let's say, again, you have these measures, you want to create a new set of measures, and you want to reuse whatever the definition, and you don't want to spend the hassle of creating new lineage tags, so you don't want to do that. Then yes, you can use a regular expression to get rid of the lineage tags, but it's just for the creation. Once the object is created, you should not change the lineage tag. That's the purpose of it, is to be a stable identification. That's the main purpose, at least in Power BI.
And then I think there was one other that I'll bring up a little bit later as a question as well from James. But otherwise, no, I think this was a good deep dive onto the lineage one. So for anybody in the chat, feel free to keep the questions coming for that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think we can bring that up with James. I think there's, I think we've answered on lineage tags. So question from James. Can TMDL View help us avoid the problem where publishing a thick report? So what he means by thick report, a semantic model that has other reports attached to it. So can we avoid this problem where publishing a thick report with the same name as an existing one sometimes results in a duplicate report instead of overwriting?
Yeah, no, because when you use TMDL View or the semantic model, actually the name of the semantic model, it's not in the metadata of the semantic model. So if you script the semantic model in here, you will see that the only name that it has is model. You can change it, but this is not apply to the name of the semantic model in the service. And this makes sense because you can have multiple PBIX files of the same semantic model and you want to publish them with different names. So that's an area that James said it is, I would say, a bug, mostly with the APIs. And I know there are some scenarios where this can happen, especially when actually with a semantic model, I don't remember what is the scenario, but I know that, for example, with reports, if you have two reports with the same name but connected to different data sets, the Power BI desktop lets you publish and does not overwrite. But this is mostly a bug on the publish mechanism. But TMDL View won't help you on that.
Good to know.
Oh.
I think that was last of the questions that we had for the moment. So perfect. Thank you for those, Rui.
Oh, my pleasure. And again, any feedback, please share your voice. Use the share feedback button. We are actively looking into those. Use LinkedIn. I'm more active on LinkedIn rather than Twitter, but ping me any feedback you have about TMDL. Feel free to tag me. Really looking forward to whatever you guys will do with this feature. I'm really proud about the team, what in the work the team did with this, and looking forward to see whatever you do with it. So please don't forget to share your feedback.
Yeah, we always say whenever there's Microsoft guests on, please do share your feedback with them. I think we're so lucky to be able to interact with the Power BI team. They really do listen. So I know they love having the feedback, and you can make a difference. So definitely do that. Absolutely mind blowing. I think the possibilities. I think that we'll see coming out of that in the next few weeks, next few months. I mean, just for me, having that ability to do a find and replace across your model, that's just an unbelievably powerful and very simple. Then I don't think you need to be a pro dev at all to be able to really do that. So some still stuff on that very easy side, and right up until we see some of these really cool templates and stuff that you went through. Definitely very excited, I think.
Now, I want to throw a question at you, Matt, as somebody who's done a bit more of the building of this. So, two-part question. From a feature perspective, what was your favorite thing to build or like to get built for TMDL? But then also from a development like headache and hassle perspective, regardless of how cool it is, what was your least favorite thing, just in terms of like whatever that reason might be?
I'd say they're one and the same.
Nice. That's the best part.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're familiar with the editor, if you've used VS Code, and lots of tools have incorporated the Monaco editor or the Monaco technology, if you're familiar with it, which is just the core text editor that's there. There's a ton of capabilities there. You know, as a developer, just getting to develop on top of that was very, very, very cool. At the same time, it's pretty daunting trying to figure out how to incorporate that into tools like desktop and stuff. Now, there was prior art for that with the DAX query view and stuff like that. However, there were so many other different features that we had to bring into that. So as a developer, getting to work on developer tools, that's a really cool thing to do. You don't get to do that very often. But at the same time, man, it's a headache.
I appreciate the insights into that, because it's kind of the manager rock scenario. You know, from a front-end consumer perspective, people don't always necessarily know like how much time and effort can go into certain things that might seem like very easy, like, oh, you could just flip a switch on to get that, right? Like, no, that was a 4-week project. That other thing, though, took like 5 minutes.
Yeah. The thing we're working on right now, and I know Rui kind of mentioned it, it's coming, is the preview. So, which is going to give you more of those developer capabilities, diffing the stuff, seeing the changes that you're making to things. Apologies if you talked about that already. I dropped off by accident.
No worries.
But yeah, no, I mean, like you said, it's complex, and to get the experience right, and but it's a lot of fun to do. Like I said, a developer working on developer tools, Couldn't ask for any better.
Exactly. It's you got to make a product for yourself to a degree, right? Like, which I think all of the best like pro dev tools that I've seen out there that have, especially from a community perspective, anything from DAX Studio to Tabular Editor and all that, were built by developers for themselves, kind of initially, and then other people need this. Like PBI tools from Matthias was built because he needed it for his job. He realized other people needed it. So it's we often know the best things to build for ourselves versus somebody who doesn't live in that world. So excellent. But no, this has been fantastic. Matt, I appreciate you coming on for your morning. Rui, of course, extra thank you for coming on your Friday evening. It's been really great, Mac, to get you on for the first time, Rui, to get you back on again. And as Rui, you mentioned, I'm sure we'd easily find an opportunity to get you back on in the future as this continues to grow, and a chance to introduce some new features with this stuff as well. So thank you both for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Excellent. Then everybody, thank you for joining the stream. We'll see everybody online in 2 weeks for our next one, and then have a great weekend.
You everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.